In the past 4 years, my team and I have designed over 5,000 emails across hundreds of different clients and gotten conversion rates as high as 10%. Now, after looking at all the data we have, I found that there are 23 design hacks that actually increase conversions, meaning they will get you more people to read, more people to click, and more importantly, more people to buy. Starting with number 1, countdown timers. Animated countdown timers create urgency by showing quite literally time ticking away. And there's a few ways you can tap into this, but what we're tapping into is FOMO. So what you can do is you can use a GIF, or you can use something like mailtimers.com to kind of show this. And Mailtimers is something I recommend. It's pretty cheap, but it actually, dynamically updates. But using this for something like an abandoned checkout or abandoned cart email, or even a campaign that's tied to a sales promo is a very, very good idea to boost conversions. Number 2, first name in the header. And really what we're going to be tapping into here is the cocktail party effect, which is that people resonate more with an email when you're actually calling them out by name. It makes mass emails feel more individually catered to, and it really adds that level of detail that people may not necessarily see. So to do this, include the subscriber first name in either like the headline or the header, or even in the body. You could say something along the lines of, "Hey, Sarah," or "Hey, you forgot this, Sarah." Whatever it might be, there's something like that where you can implement it as a thing, and it really adds that level of personalization. Number 3, the plain text style email. Now, this isn't improving the design, obviously, but it is worth a test. Plain text emails just feel more personal, almost like you're getting something from a friend. And honestly, it's just gonna be able to get through that much more of the spam filters and whatnot, because it's not a heavily formatted HTML email. And you might see this from some brands like Fly by Jing or Brez. So in order to do this, use simple, clean design formatting. So if you wanna go the true plain text route, obviously use just whatever is gonna be there. But if you're going the hybrid text route, obviously use very, very simple branding and keep it really focused on that conversational tone, using true copy mechanics, and really just drive it home with that versus any flashy graphics or anything like that. Number 4 is get rid of dead space. And what I refer to as dead space, it's really just your valuable space that you're wasting on elements that aren't driving conversion. Most email campaigns get this wrong by using giant headlines, giant headers, and just honestly a bunch of space that isn't driving the message or driving towards that CTA. So what I recommend doing is packing as much as you can into that little viewport that you get. Obviously the hero section is what I'm referring to. And then from there, if there's anything that's just extra and not needed, just cut it. Honestly, you only have a few seconds to grab attention, so make sure you're not wasting it on that dead space. Number 5, use numbers in your copy. There's nothing more solidifying and grounding and anchoring than a number. You're going to see this across many, many different brands, but something like save 30% versus save money is going to sound a whole lot better and make more sense to the customer, and it's going to get them to drive that click a little bit easier. You're going to see this in big brands like Amazon and whatnot, where they might say something along the lines of 4.8 out of 5 stars from 2,700 reviews, but those numbers are crucial to kind of making that logic kind of flow through the person's brain when they're reading the email. You're also going to see things from SaaS companies and whatnot. I mean, look at Slack. They may have a CTA that says join 10 million plus customers. Those are really the things that also kind of build that social proof, but it also adds that level of logic. Number 6, font size greater than 16 pixels. This is one of the quickest ways you can lose interest in your emails if the person can't even read it. Now, obviously in a mobile first economy that we're in right now, we have to optimize everything for mobile. So using a font size that is bigger than 16 pixels is going to make sure that's the case. And if you look at mobile first apps like TikTok and Instagram, they're always making sure that the font that you can read is perfectly visible. Many brands fail to check this because they always build things for desktop, and they fail to take into consideration the mobile device. And with it being in many times 80-90% of the traffic that we're seeing, that's 100% one of our biggest focuses, and this is a big win if you can convert that, if you're not currently doing that right now. Now, if you don't want to implement and test all these hacks yourself, book a call using the first link in the description. And we've done this for many, many other brands, including Maseo, and scaled up from $1,000 up to $200,000 per month in email revenue. And if this is something that you're interested in for yourself, book a call down below and we'll have a chat. Number 7, focus on benefits over features. Features tell somebody what something does, but benefits explains why someone should care. When you focus on benefits, you're speaking directly to the customer's objective outcome. So what you're doing here is you're speaking to what they want to be or what they want to get to, and that's a whole lot more effective than just listing product specifications. This is where a lot of brands mess up. They go through and they list all the product specifications and just list them out as a list and don't really tie it to what the customer truly wants to see themselves as. So here's a quick hack. For every feature, add so that in order to really connect it towards that end outcome. So for example, waterproof so that you can stay dry in any weather, or fast shipping so that you can have it before that weekend trip. Number 8, minimize friction. Purchase anxiety is by far the #1 conversion killer. And if we're using a lot of scarcity and urgency type language, or really making the customer feel a little bit uncomfortable about buying, then obviously they're not gonna buy. Most email campaigns mess this up by using a lot of just straight heavy conversion copy, which does work in some cases and may work to convert those high level people. But especially when you're working in things where people are either new to the brand and whatnot, we want to ease them as much as we can, reduce that friction. So what does that look like? That means using things to reduce and changing the CTA language potentially a little bit. Adding things like no commitment needed. free shipping, free returns, whatever it might be to kind of ease the person's conscience. And then also looking at things like changing things like from buy now to add to cart. Those small things and small changes can take you from potentially, pressuring the buyer and making them feel like they have to purchase now, which is not a good customer experience, to then making it seem like, hey, this offer is running right now, but these are the different things that can help potentially ease that concern a little bit. Number 9, make aesthetic designs. Premium design doesn't only look good, but it also builds credibility and adds that premium feel to your brand. Nothing is worse than coming across poor design, because it can come across as poor product quality or even spam, especially for higher ticket items or even higher ticket, brands. So if I was, a brand that was in the higher ticket space or even in any space, invest in high level design, because there's nothing worse than going from a strongly built website with great fonts and everything else to going to a email that essentially doesn't have any good design, and there's that disconnect there. So if you're a customer, you may say, hey, this is potentially spam. You're going to lose that credibility. So make sure that your fonts, colors, everything is brought over into the design level of things and matches that aesthetically or even exceeds it, and you're going to see a much better conversion coming from your designs. Number 10, make it easy to buy. The more friction you have on an email, the less people will buy. It's that simple. What I mean is that you need to make sure you have multiple CTAs throughout your email. The biggest mistake I see is people will have a single CTA at the top of their email, and they're going to force their buyer to have to go all the way to the top of the email just to click to go through. So you're probably going to see this in things like your ClickFunnels, whatever it might be. There's multiple CTAs throughout, and that is a great practice, because all we want to make sure is that when the person's scrolling through and they click and be like, hey, I want to buy this, that they have something to click on. So make sure that's the case. Make sure that you're going through and making it easy as possible for that person to buy. Number 11, make it mobile friendly. Over 60% of your emails are going to be opened by mobile devices, which a lot of brands make the mistake of because they design for desktop first. That's really just a huge mistake, because obviously with the majority of your people coming from mobile, we want to make sure that it's thumb friendly, as they say. So what I mean by that, make your CTAs big enough, make sure it's a single column layout, make it such that if you were to browse this on your iPhone, it's going to make sense, it's going to be easy for you to interact with, such that it makes it a good mobile experience. As long as you have that, you're good to go. Number 12, layer information. Information overload makes it that much harder for somebody to make a decision. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is that you need to lay out your content in a digestible way for the customer who's reading it. Amazon does great with this in that they lay out the key product details and then they have read more. If you want to read more, you could read more. When it comes to an email, this concept can be applied by essentially making it such that when you're presenting an email, present your offer, present the main product, whatever it might be, and then from there you can start layering in more things. We're trying to make it more digestible. So from there, yes, you can promote other products, show some other features and whatnot, but we're not kind of really just trying to dump everything. A lot of brands do this. They dump too much information on the email, overloads the customer. They're not even reading all that. So from there, yes, you can drive to CTAs such as shop all collections and whatnot. But really, at the end of the day, your goal as an email is to just drive the click. Don't focus too much on trying to do that much as far as convincing and whatnot. Just drive the click. Number 13, make headlines do the heavy lifting. Honestly, most people aren't even going to read your emails. So focus 80% of your time on headlines, and then you can from there do the little descriptions and whatnot. Your headline and preview text are quite literally probably the only things that are going to get read. So they need to be self-contained, compelling, and effective. A lot of brands get this wrong by keeping things vague and whatnot, and that's a huge mistake. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that we should realize is the biggest takeaway you should take from this is you should be able to read the headline and understand exactly what the email is about. If you can't do that, then it doesn't pass the test and you need to rewrite it. Number 14, creating visual flow. You can use visuals that guide attention towards a logical path to buying. Without clear flow, people don't know what to do next or where their next path might be. So a lot of emails honestly get this entirely wrong by treating each element as the exact same, and that leads to just a lot of chaos. Using font sizes, colors, and different visual elements, you can guide the eyes towards the key elements. At the end of the day, we're obviously trying to drive them in a structure of headline, benefit, and then all the way to the CTA. So obviously make your CTAs prominent, but this is a key portion of understanding what is truly good visual design. Number 15, lead with social proof. The earlier you include social proof, the better. When people see that others have already bought and love the product, it removes that risk of being the first person to try it out. You're going to see this commonly in different sites like Amazon, where they're really trying to show their reviews as much as possible. Most brands get this wrong by either burying the social proof all the way at the bottom of the email or not including it at all. So how do you do this? What you're going to want to do is share things like your reviews, bestseller badges, show your customer account, whatever you can do to kind of boost that immediate credibility, because after all, that's what we're trying to build. Number 16, using infographics. Infographics allow you to communicate complex pieces of information at 10 times faster than any text would. At the end of the day, brands just really screw this up by using very text-heavy emails, expecting that the customer is going to, one, be able to understand it, but two, have the patience to actually read through it. So infographics are definitely a must. Good infographics might look like something that either does and looks at bundles, comparing products, comparing yourself to customers, showing good, better, best, whatever it might be. They're the best way to really convey, hey, I'm better than this, 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 and this. It's a really good way to do that as an example, but it really allows you to do any piece of complex information in a really, really quick and glanceable way. Number 17, position social proof strategically. Generic social proof feels fake, but the ones that are catered and very specific, those are the ones that feel authentic. Most brands mess this up by using testimonials that such as like, hey, great product. Honestly, that doesn't convey any interest and whatnot. So what we're after though is the specific ones. Those are the ones that make it feel like a true and more believable narrative. So if you can tie it to the main messaging, that's great. Brands like, Casper Mattress that talk about things like, hey, this is my transformational thing. Those are the ones that really, those testimonials, those are the ones that are going to get the conversion. Those are the ones that are going to get the customer to buy into it, because not only is it more believable, but the customer can also resonate and see themselves with that customer as potentially the person who's going to see that outcome. So 100% focus on true specific outcomes really coming out of those testimonials, and your social proof is going to look a whole lot better. Number 18, test everything. The more you test, the more you know. And honestly, what works for one audience may not work for another. So the more you test, the more you can figure out, the more you can learn. And at the end of the day, testing things like your subject lines, testing things like your CTAs, your offers are huge. Those are the things that are really going to move the needle. I always recommend testing one variable at a time. Don't mix too many things because you're never going to be able to figure out what's actually working. Make sure you test for statistical significance, but also make sure you're testing what is sensible. At the end of the day, test all these different things, test as much as you can, but again, keep it centered on one specific variable and learn as much as you can. Number 19, list your FAQs. Instead of trying to address them through some copywriting strategies, let the customer handle it on their own. Present them with those FAQs, address their objections. Many brands make the mistake of trying to ignore these objections and instead just not address them at all. But instead, if you can, again, reduce the friction, answer it before they get to checkout. Whatever you can do to really provide them the answer that they're looking for that would cause any kind of hesitation or whatever it might be, the better you are. So yeah, listing those FAQs, include them inside of those more complex emails, whatever it might be, to make sure that the customer has everything that they need answered ahead of that checkout process or whatever it might be, and you'll be good. Number 20, use real testimonials. If you have UGC, use it, because in 2025, unfortunately, a lot of people are faking social proof. So if you have live videos or any photos or whatnot, whatever you can and that's real, bring it into the fold, because that is a huge advantage that you have over the rest of the market. Use verified names, use verified orders, whatever it might be. Make sure that you're capitalizing on this real customer language, not this marketing speak, because you're going to have that much of a leg up on your competitors. So if you have the UGC, if you have the content, make sure you use it, because it is 100% your biggest advantage. Number 21, optimize for dark mode. We live in a day and age where a lot of people, including myself, use dark mode. So if I can't even read your email because it's not optimized for dark mode, because you designed it in light mode, then you're going to lose me as a customer. So what I mean by that is make sure that you're testing your emails inside of dark mode. Make sure that they're still readable, make sure that the text, make sure that you're using, images that with clear backgrounds, whatever you can do. This is like a big, easy test that you can do to make sure that people who are actually receiving your emails can actually read it, because there's nothing worse than an email falling through just because they can't read it. So, there are a few different ways you can go about it. Obviously, do some dark mode testing. We use a lot of image-based emails, which obviously kind of throws that entire thing out the window. But, make sure that people using dark mode can actually read your emails. Number 22, make your buttons bigger. We're in the mobile age. And as I've talked about before, optimizing for mobile is a big thing, but specifically focusing on the button, that's going to be a big focus. The bigger you make your button, the more eyes are going to be drawn to your actual button. And then obviously the more conversions you're going to see as far as clicks getting through that email. So when it comes to email, I always recommend the button be at least 44 pixels tall. That's a bare minimum. So, making sure that the thumb itself, when your people are browsing on their iPhone, has enough space to hit it very easily. And at that point, you should be good to go. But yeah, biggest thing, take away from this, make your buttons bigger. Honestly, it shouldn't be that big of a huge design hit on yourself, but it does increase conversions. Number 23, and definitely the most important one, make sure your CTA is positioned above the fold. There are so many email designs I've seen where the position of the CTA is so far below that it's like, well, wait a second, what am I supposed to click on? We want to make sure that when somebody opens up the email, that they have the headline, they have maybe a little bit of text, but that they have that CTA, because in many cases, most people aren't going to scroll. So what do we have to do that? We have to make sure that, hey, CTA is here right on the first page. So you're able to click on it right when you open up the email, makes it as easy as possible, reduces as much friction as possible, and gets them right to the site in order to buy. Now, designs are only a small part of bringing in revenue from email marketing. And yes, you can implement all these design hacks, but realistically, you're going to be missing out on a lot of revenue from the rest of your customer journey. So if you want to see the exact email marketing strategy we use to generate over $50 million plus in revenue, watch this video right here and I'll walk you through it.